Welcome to Violent Vinyl Radio, where we break down the best hair metal albums from the 80s and the 90s. So grab that volume knob, crank it up, and enjoy the show.
Showtime. Welcome to Violent Vinyl Radio. I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my two co-hosts. First up, the podcaster, holding all the aces, Dangerous Dave.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
And last but not least, the podcaster who likes the dark side of the beat, Lisa.
Hi, guys.
And joining us tonight from our sister podcast, hey, did you ever see that movie? We brought her on because she is a gotha. Belen, welcome to the show.
I'm a what?
Hooray.
I don't know. Is that a thing? A gotha?
I don't even know what that is. You're making shit up now.
I am making shit up. The mission of this show is for us to introduce each other and you, the listeners, to albums and bands which you may never have heard before, while also discussing the classics. And on occasion, we will ruthlessly insult each other's musical tastes. So sit back and enjoy the show. Tonight, we will be discussing Pretty Hate Machine. Thank God Delin intervened because I was calling it Pretty Little Hate Machine. The debut studio album by Nine Inch Nails, produced by Trent Reznor, John Fryer, Flood, Keith LeBlanc, and Adrian Sherwood. Flood is Keith LeBlanc, I'm guessing. That's his nickname?
Yes, that's his nickname.
Okay. Released on October 20th of 1989 on TVT Records, the album peaked at the number 75 spot on the Billboard 200. And the band's lineup was as follows, and Lisa, feel free to interject after I do this. Trent Reznor, vocals, arrangement, continuity, digital editing, programming, and a shitload of other people doing shit I cannot explain. Lisa, would you like to elaborate?
Trent is the band, right?
Okay.
There's no one else. And
Especially
until
at this
at
point.
least, at this point, until 2016, officially, he was the only member of the band, even though if you were a concert goer back in the day, you were going to see a band. But
Right.
he was it. So he wrote the music, he produced the music, he arranged the music, he did the vocals, he did literally everything.
Well, we've been having some off-air discussions about this album, and it's very interesting. And, we'll get into it, about how there's no real instruments on the album and what it does to the music and the overall feel of the album. But you also have to say, it's kind of a one-off. It's something that I'm not sure I would change because then it wouldn't be this, right? For better or for worse, if that makes sense. Okay, let's do some quick band facts. I will get us started. I've got a couple of decent ones, I think. Reznor's first band was called Option 30, and they played 3 shows a week while he was in high school. Trent is actually his middle name. His real name is Michael. Interesting. It's interesting to me that Trent is actually part of his real name. Like, I thought that was the most interesting part of that fact. Number 3, Reznor hated the factory sounds of the Emax, but had not transferred anything from his old emulator and used samples from his record collection for all the drum sounds. He initially expected to use real drum sounds when recording the album, but in the end, he and the producers merely equalized his drum samples. Was that a mistake? Again, it's just going to get back to the question, would you change anything about this album? Because then it would change what this album is. And this album is kind of a standalone landmark in this genre of music, right? So I don't know. Maybe not. Dave, what do you got?
Okay. Their record label at the time, TVT Records, was originally started in 1984 and named TV Tunes, initially created to release the television's greatest hits series of classic TV theme song compilations. The label would expand into rap, industrial rock, and electronic music. It boasted releases by such artists as Nine Inch Nails, of course, Little John, KMFDM, the Baldwin Brothers, and Seven Dust. That's a hell of a lineup.
Yeah, Seven Dust, huh?
Cover art was designed by Gary Talpis, which is a photo of the blades of a turbine stretched vertically to create the illusion of a rib cage. For the 2010 reissue, visual artist Rob Sheridan was assigned to update the cover art by Trent Reznor to tone down the heavy late 80s neon colors. I think it's good that they set it apart from the original for the reissue, but I'm a little disappointed that they probably only did it because they thought, oh, the bright colors are so cheesy in 80s.
Right. Yeah, I like the colors. I like that myself. I thought it was, I thought it worked for the era it came out.
Let's see. The album was recorded in several different studios in London, Cleveland, Boston, and New York.
Boston.
Yeah. Before Nine Inch Nails, you'd mentioned that he was in a band called Option 30. You can actually find a cover version of the song Der Kommissar with Trent Reznor singing over on YouTube. And
Cool.
he was also in a very 80s pop band called Slam Bamboo. You can see their TV appearance on YouTube.
Nice.
Yes.
Run over and check that out.
Yeah, one more tidbit. I don't know if any of you guys found this, but he actually appears in the movie Light of Day, starring Michael J. Fox and Joan Jett.
Wow.
He's in the band who plays in the bar while the stars of the movie are partying. The story is they got this gig because they were a local band that could just show up on set with short notice, all with their own gear and keyboards and drums and stuff. All the gear that was on stage was their band's actual equipment.
Well, that's really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Before we were getting started, I was just watching my 80s flashback channel that I watch, and the Romantics, The Secrets That You Keep, that song.
Yeah, Talking in Your Sleep, great song.
Yeah, so it was funny though, because I'm watching the video and the three main guys up front all have these tight little like perms that kind of like aren't really long hair, but kind of are. But the drummer is so fucking cool, man. This guy could be in LA Guns. Like I was like, whoa, how did I miss that this guy has jet black spiked hair? He's like 6'2" and dressed in leather from head to toe and drums like a 80s hair metal drummer. Check it out, people. This is like something that slipped through the cracks. You never noticed it, but this guy's super cool. Lisa, what do you got for facts on this album?
And that guy sang lead on some of the songs too.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, I think the What I Like About You, he sang lead on.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
At
good
least
guy.
in the video.
Yeah, cool rocker, man, for sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I have a lot to say about this album, so you're going to have to tell me to shut up when it gets to be a little bit too much, and about the band, of course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move
Time,
on.
right?
Lynn, what do you got on
All
this album?
over.
Just kidding.
So back in the day, it was not common for a single person to kind of be the whole band, even in the industrial and techno scenes at that time. Although he was kind of like introducing the concept, because if you look at industrial techno, electro techno, darkwave music today, it's mostly individuals or duos that comprise what we would call a band now. So it was kind of before its time. It's hard to categorize what Nine Inch Nails is. So people will say, oh, it's industrial music. Oh, it's electro-industrial. Oh, it's, this or that. There's a big controversy in kind of the goth world of where each band fits under the subgenres of goth, right? So is it darkwave? Is it electro-techno? Is it, industrial? And it's all of those things. And a lot of the bands in the goth movement are more than one subgenre. So there's often some fights about how to categorize them properly.
Lisa, can I say something? When I listened to this through, I kind of got like this, and it's not going to make perfect sense, but it felt almost like poetry. Like you could almost bring this back to like Jim Morrison and the way he would like deliver his thoughts and his life experiences through these songs, where you'd get a lot of this repetitive lyrics, and it just started feeling a little like a poetry album to me, which I really liked. It really resonated with me. So Trent resonated with me.
I totally agree. And I have some of the same comments when we get into the songs. Exactly that, about how it's basically almost a spoken word album in places. So, with like almost like with background music, you would say playing behind him. I think he meant to do that. I think that was a conscious choice, but we can talk a little more deeper about that when we get into the songs.
It's like beat poetry,
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So he is a classically trained pianist, like me, which was very exciting back in the day. He did give up kind of that classical training when he was 12 years old, and his grandfather bought him his first Moog synthesizer, which became basically the focus of his whole life. But he also played a lot of other instruments, which kind of shows he's more of a composer really than just like a band member. He does all the arrangements, plays instruments if there needs to be instruments, or simulates instruments if there needs to be that, or creating kind of the music or the noise behind the songs. The thing I like that was really different is, so we're talking 1989, right? So the music back then was loud and glam and bright and poppy and bubblegum, and this was the complete opposite of that.
Sort of.
Well, see, the world that he comes from, though. So if you look back at like the other industrial bands that were around at that time, like Coil or Ministry, when Ministry was a synth band, by the way, which they were originally a synth, make Ministry synth again.
Every day is Halloween.
Yes, absolutely. Came FDM, My Life with a Thrill Kill Cult, Cabaret Voltaire, all those bands that were doing industrial kind of before him were a little bit maybe louder and grittier. And he kind of brought post-punk music together with industrial, and which made it like mainstream, which was really exciting for me because I was into Skinny Puppy at the time. I was listening to Depeche Mode, and it was kind of like putting all of that music together in a blender, and this is what like came out of it, which was great.
Yeah.
So Nine Inch Nails' first studio release was this album, Pretty Hate Machine. But before this, he basically arranged a bunch of what we would call today singles. Like, like in the digital world, like you don't even really need to release an album. You just release a single. And that's what he was doing before this album. The collection of those songs is called Purest Feeling, which you can, get on Spotify and all of that. But it was sort of before the concept of Nine Inch Nails actually existed.
Lisa, that's a trick that guy from Tyler kind of adopted too, where after the Dogs the More, he would just start like releasing these singles.
Yeah.
And just super cool, and to have some of these picture discs and these, Dogs the More things is really cool. And I'm sure it's kind of the same with Nine Inch Nails to have these, singles, almost collectors.
And one of my favorite things to do back in the day was to look for these kind of single collections and these, we would call them remix collections, or 12 inches if they were vinyl. Some of them only released in Europe, and I would go on like scavenger hunts all over the place to try to get the whole collection of everything. That's awesome. That Nine Inch Nails did. Yeah. So after Pretty Hate Machine, interesting fun fact, when he was recording the Broken EP and Downward Spiral, he actually rented the Manson murder house.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and there's two stories about this, because one is that he purposely did this. He found the house. He was interested in the culture and the stories behind it. And Sharon Tate's sister called him and actually said to him, "Hey, my sister was like tortured and died there. Can you have some respect and maybe like not do this there?" And he ended up leaving the house shortly after that because of the discussion with Sharon Tate's sister. But many, many years later, 2 decades later, he did an interview where he claims he didn't even know that was the house when he rented it.
Bullshit.
Bullshit. Which if you go back, it clearly was known. He had an interesting relationship with David Bowie. They actually performed together quite a bit. Bowie helped him after Reznor had a heroin overdose, and they toured together for a short time. He also had a very close relationship with another artist who, in the goth world, we do not say their name anymore. Although I think Des does want to discuss them today.
We are going to speak on that man tonight.
Right. And he produced this person's albums, signed them to his record label, so forth and so on. And it was a complicated and treacherous relationship over the years for them. They had a pretty severe falling out. So. Yeah. In 1997, he appeared on Time's list of the year's most influential people. And in the same year, Spin Magazine described him as the most vital artist in music.
Well, they're talking about things that have come since then. I mean, he has done soundtracks for albums that have been absolutely amazing. And you can't look at Pretty Hate Machine and say that, because that was him in his infancy, and what he's turned into is something much greater than the sum of that part.
Yeah, he's in the conversation of great, composers, but I'm not putting it at the top of that mountain. That's a big mountain.
And when Nine Inch Nails tours, they obviously tour with a full band, which is why when people say they're going to go see him, they think they're seeing a band. But what he does is he has hired guns playing instruments behind him. And if you have seen a Netflix documentary about, which I think actually was called Hired Guns, about some of these studio musicians, they claim that his treatment of these studio musicians was, we'll just say, not really great, between how they were paid and how they were treated and how they were basically told, you're going to get a lot of exposure from coming on tour with me, which in a sense is true. But, you hear that a lot with artists where, do this for exposure, and you're kind of stealing their art from them.
Can't pay your rent with exposure.
Can't pay your rent with exposure.
Would you take the Nine Inch Nails gig, Dave, today if he called you?
In a heartbeat.
Okay, so you take that exposure. You would let him use you for a tour?
Pretty much.
Okay,
sadly.
Me too. I'd be like, what keyboard button would you like me to push tonight, Mr. Reznor? Sorry.
So wasn't
the guy from the singer from Filter in his band? And
Richard Patrick.
Yeah, I enjoyed that documentary, Hired Gun. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It's actually really good.
When we actually just did Terminator 2 over on, hey, did you ever see that movie? And we were talking about Richard Patrick's brother, because that's his twin brother. Or not twins.
Oh.
Are they twins? I don't know.
I think they're twins. I'm pretty sure.
Are they fraternal twins?
They look a lot alike when you actually look at them side by side. So they might just be brothers, but yeah.
Are they adopted twins? No, I don't know. Okay, Lisa, a couple more, then we will hand it over to Delynn, then we will get on with this podcast.
I'm pretty much good with this album.
Okay,
off we go.
Delynn, is there anything left? Do you have anything to say about Trent Reznor? I mean, do you know what hospital he was born at? How much he weighed at birth? I don't know.
No. Okay. Let me see. Let me think of the couple things that she didn't cover. He was in the marching band when he was a youngin'. This is true. I've seen a picture. Yeah. So the funny thing about Nine Inch Nails for me was the way I was introduced to them was, so I was a heavy metal, hair metal girl, and I went to see LA Guns play, and it was in a really small place, and we ended up talking to Phil Lewis, and Phil Lewis was like, you'd like this band, and it was the Sisters of Mercy. And I was like, I was not goth. I didn't know anything about it. But we were like, well, Phil Lewis told us we're going to like it, so we're going to like it. And we actually loved it. But then what happened was, shortly after that, somebody said to us, oh, you like that kind of dark stuff. You need to check out this album. And it was my friend's sister's boyfriend, just a random dude. And he gave us the Nine Inch Nails CD because he said, I bought it. I thought it was rap music. And we're like, well, I don't like rap. He's like, no, but it's not rap. Just listen to it. And I ended up loving it. Like it blew my little mind apart. It was amazing. Yeah, I do agree that this is kind of like beat poetry over music. I did read somewhere that Trent did a lot of, his own synthesizing of noises. So he would like record construction noises and then put them through his computer to make music with it. It's like, who was doing that? Nobody was doing that. Like Lisa said, they didn't even consider themselves industrial. He said he was making pop music with a really dark edge. He also said that he's not exactly proud of this album because he was in a dark place. He feels like the music is very claustrophobic, and I can kind of see that. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got.
Cool. All right, let's do some opening thoughts on this one. And I'm going to piggyback off what you just said in my opening thoughts about the overall feel of the album. So I've never listened to this album before, ever. I've heard the 3 big songs on it, which are the first 3 songs on the album. Mm-hmm. And again, I kind of wish that they had scattered those songs, beginning, middle, end. I think it would have benefited the overall flow of the album. I think, stacking the front like that never works on any album we've ever done. But that's what they did here. I was expecting something way darker, something way heavier. And it really just kind of felt like, it was like pop. It was. It was like dark pop. If you put a different singer on this, change it around a little bit, it's a completely different album. I mean, I liked it. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, he definitely said that he liked, he was very much in love with Depeche Mode's Black Celebration.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
that
you
was
can
like
make
the vibe he was going for.
Yeah, you can definitely make some comparisons
Yeah.
to that. And, some, I mean, The Cure. I mean, there's stuff here. In Excess, we'll get to it later in the album. But this is more the stuff I'm hearing when I expected to be hearing like something like more like a Manson or because, that's what you immediately associate it with because Manson was the big star that came out of all this. Like, he's the one. If you don't have like, if you're not a industrial person or a goth person and someone says Nine Inch Nails, the couple of songs you've heard, but you're going to immediately think Marilyn Manson, super heavy, industrial, dark. And then I put this album on, I'm like, nope, it's none of that. So good, cool. Dave, had you ever heard the album all the way through before preparing for the podcast?
I have not heard the album in full before. Just like you, I had heard the first 3 songs, clubs or MTV or wherever, radio. Those were the big breakthrough songs everybody heard. In '89, I was still listening to Bon Jovi and Whitesnake. I had no interest in electronic music back then.
Nice. Yeah. I was a huge Manson fan, huge, to the point where I got the Twiggy tattoo on my neck, which now is covered by the Mother Mary. Okay. I'm not sure how that works when you get up to, okay, kid, I can see under that tattoo. I don't like where this is going. Lisa, do I have to ask the question?
Oh, this should be an obvious answer, but yeah, obviously I've heard this album over and over again. As a matter of fact, I was even surprised that on this re-listen, I actually know all of the words to the songs without looking at the lyrics, could sing right along. It's burned into my memory.
That's impressive. Impressive.
Yeah. The first time I ever heard Nine Inch Nails was live. I hadn't heard the album or seen the video yet. I saw them at Axis. They played with a DJ who I knew from Man Ray Club back in the day. Man Ray being the, premier goth club in Boston, which closed and then now has reopened and is still awesome. So after I saw that, I bought the album. And then after I bought the album, I saw the video for Down on It on Headbangers Ball. I wore out, I can't count how many cassettes and CDs of this album. I bought every remix I could get out of Europe. This was perfection to me. So this should be a little bit of a foreshadowing of what my score is going to be for this album. But, a lot of people talk about like perfect albums like, oh, Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction. This one is just about near perfect to me.
Nothing shocking. Can we throw Nothing Shocking on that perfect album list?
Absolutely, it is definitely up there as well. And there is a connection, of course, between Trent and Perry through the Lollapalooza tour, and they work together a lot on some interesting music. Electronic music was not really big in 1989. You did not hear it on the radio unless you were listening to the stuff we were, like Kraftwerk and Skinny Puppy and Sisters of Mercy, as Dylan said. You weren't hearing anything like this. And it was kind of the first crack into the mainstream. Mainly, I think, because traditional industrial music, which, you were talking about how nobody was doing the samples. I mean, the underground bands were doing the samples then, but it didn't catch on. And Trent was able to make this catch on because he brought that post-punk kind of background in the song structure where you had verse and chorus and bridge. And there was none of that in industrial music before Trent. So he kind of redid it for the masses, if you will.
Yeah. I like his take on that too, on the arrangement of these songs, because it's different, but it's traditional, but done differently. And we'll definitely discuss that.
Yeah.
Dylan, question. Did your tour of duty cross with Lisa's tour of duty at the legendary Man Ray? Because I know that you like to put the baby powder on the body and slip it into the nylon or the latex.
Wow, you're really struggling with that, huh? Jesus.
Yikes.
I was pretty much there like 94 to 99 or so. Like that was kind of my time. So that's when I was there. But for me, like I already told the story about how I learned about this album. Industrial at the time was not that. industrial was throbbing gristle. You know, it was weird and it was weird and it was underground and he pushed it someplace. It would this music would not have caught on if he didn't push it to this place where there was a pop accessibility to it. You know, you brought it to a place where a normal person could listen to it and not be like, what the fuck is this? Like, totally. And you might still have said, what the fuck is this? But in a good way. Like Lisa, I listened to it last night and I knew every word. I knew every beat. I've heard it so many times. Like her, I hunted down the EPs. I bought Broken. I bought Fixed. I bought all of them. Like I was going for it. So yeah, like the only thing I will say about Trent at this time, and I know we're going to do the frontman thing, but oh boy, those white boy dreads were bad. I was watching the videos back and like, oh, that was not a great look for him.
Him and Dave Navarro were rocking that, and it didn't work for either of them.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate look, but yeah, I was so impressed by him at the time because I was like, this is who is this? What is this music he's making? It was so experimental and different, and like you said, it was Motley Crue, it was Poison, it was this. That's what 1989 was. Yeah. And this just came out of left field. And I was like, and of course, you know, grunge is coming over the mountain, right? But this was like, it came in with something new before that even happened or when it was in the infancy. And it gave people who were not really into grunge a new thing to do, you know? And like you said,
I was sure that this music style was going to be the next style after glam and not grunge. And I was angry when it was grunge that came out ahead.
Oh, we got some good grunge albums. Come on.
We do, though. No.
Soundgarden.
Here's the deal. You have to look back at it this way. When it happened, I was fucking pissed. I hated Nirvana. I hated Pearl Jam. I hated Soundgarden. I wanted them to all jump into a fucking river. Oh. Now I look back and I'm like, this is good music. I can't front. It's good music. But you have to understand, for people who were interested in more of a theatrical thing, you had Nine Inch Nails, you had Manson, you had Rob Zombie doing White Zombie at the time, you know, so it's like there was alternatives to the alternative, right?
Yeah. Rob Zombie did this whole thing like to perfection, like chef's kiss.
I love Rob Zombie.
Okay, let's rate the singer like we do. So, as always, it's 1 through 100, 25% on hair, 25% on style and stage presence, and 50% on vocal talent. So I went back, I watched some old Nine Inch Nails videos, and I was not blown away by his stage presence, I must say. He kind of just hangs on the mic a la Danzig, right? Almost the same stage presence as Danzig, just kind of slumped over, wrist hanging on the mic, like that's just his thing. His vocals aren't anything to write home about live. I mean, you know, he's doing the album, but it feels more like spoken word than it does, you know, a front man singing. So, I mean, just let's call it what it is. The hair, little on the thin side, not great. And when it's not in the braids, it's not looking great. So, but he is the goth father. See what I did there? His lyrics are legit.
He's not the Godfather, P.S. Okay. If anybody's the Godfather, it's Peter Murphy, but go ahead.
Well, he's one of the Godfathers, okay? His lyrics, 100% legit, and he does dress in black from head to toe. So I am giving him a 42.9. That's what I got. Dave. What? That's a fair score.
You just changed Jane Addiction to this.
Oh, shit.
So for hair, I'll go with 15. It's dyed black, so that's good. What I could find for pictures at the time, you know, I found some with short hair, which was fine, and then I did find the long, scraggly dread situation, and that was not so good.
Agreed.
22 for style and stage presence. You know, what it comes down to is he can hold a crowd with the movie star bad boy intensity.
Yeah.
And I will give him a 35 for vocal talent. And I'm basing that on the album itself. You know, he's not the best singer in the world, but he's got a pretty good range of notes and emotion to his singing. So I'm giving him a 72.
72. My goodness, that's a little high. Lisa, talk about
you
this.
guys are gonna hate me for this.
Oh God.
So, I find stage presence for him, it's different than a glam band than judging a glam band, right? You watch him, like he's the center of the stage, and I think that the way he writes his songs and the way he imagines his albums and the way he imagines his shows are it's a whole performance, right? It's the video that's playing behind him and it's the lights and it's all of the things. I feel like he's planned this ahead of time, every inch of the performance. So it isn't just about him, right? He puts on like this crazy, like very visually intense show. He's not a heartthrob kind of pretty boy that, we were used to seeing in 1989. I think that's why I liked him so much. He didn't have big blonde hair, Aquanet hair. He had, regular black hair, maybe along the lines of like Robert Smith or the way Skinny Puppy was doing their hair at the time, which was so freaking cool to me. He was wearing liquid vinyl pants and everything was black. And, it was like a little bit Eurotrash, which I think is like the best style ever. So to me, I thought he was super cool. I think he had a great stage presence. His hair was just fine. And actually, we did see Gary Newman recently with Frontline Assembly and Ministry, who are no longer a synth band. And when Gary Newman came out on stage, I had to look a few times and be like, is that Trent or is that Gary? And they were like identical twins. It was almost scary.
That's funny.
I went back in time and I said, what did Gary Newman look like in 1989? Because of course the cars were huge back then, right? Nothing like it. Short hair, looked like a dentist. I don't know. So actually, did Gary Newman follow Trent's style?
Well, he released that album Metal. It was so good. If you haven't listened to it, Gary Newman's Metal is like, it's not Cars. It's not what you remember from the 80s. It's industrial kind of pop, good music. It's really, really good.
Yeah, he puts on a great live show too, by the way. And what is he, in his 70s now, I think? And you would never, ever know it.
No. He looks super cool still.
Yeah, super cool. So for vocals, obviously he's not hitting the high notes. Okay, I don't really care about that. What I care about is that he writes his songs, his lyrics with his voice in mind, so it sounds like perfect.
Agreed.
Yeah. So
Smart.
he can, there's so much like emotion in his voice and like desperation, and he can really, bring out the song lyrics. And yeah, he's not hitting a range that some of the other singers did, but he didn't have to, not with this music. So my score is a 93.5.
No, stop. If he's a 93.9, what was Marilyn Manson in the day? Because I mean, that's a stage presence that is, for me in this genre of music, unmatchable live. You go to that concert.
This is not the Marilyn Manson show. This is
no,
the
it's
Trent
not.
Reznor
It's
show.
not. It's not. But I'm just saying, like, I've seen Manson live in the big stadiums a few times, and I can just remember being there and being like, this guy is controlling the Worcester Centrum right now. Like, if he told us to burn this place down, the Centrum would burn tonight. Like, that's for me, like, yes. So
I mean, I'll agree with you a little bit. Back in the day, I also was a huge Manson fan. I thought he was. Yeah, I think everybody was. I thought he was super cool. I did have a chance to speak to him for many, many hours over many different occasions. He's also extremely intelligent, which I think Trent Reznor is also, although I haven't spent as much time with him. But I think Manson's stage presence was more about the theater of it and the costumes.
Shock rock.
Shock rock, yeah. Whereas
also,
Trent Reznor
can you
was
talk
just
about how much he stole from Alice Cooper, David Bowie, but like
Sure.
Kiss. Oh,
yeah.
Legitimately, the shock symbol was stolen from he could have gone. He went into David Bowie's closet and took it out of his closet. The shock symbol, that was David Bowie.
His thing was stolen from New York punk rocker Gigi Allen.
Gigi Allen, yeah.
I mean,
he stole all of it from other
that's where he
people.
got it. Okay, Dylan, just tell us what you think of this cat. How are you going to rate him?
I think, other than the unfortunate dreads, his hair's cool when it goes back to black. If you watch later Nine Inch Nails, which I know we're trying to do like this album, but March of the Pigs, like The Perfect Drug, it's so fucking good. And as far as I'm concerned, he is bringing it. Like, I know that you're saying he's just standing there and holding, but like, that was his thing, was not to spaz out, and it was more controlled. And like when you see him when he does Afraid of Americans with David Bowie later, I loved it. So I gave him a 73, which is not as high as Lisa, but much higher than you. So
okay. Lisa, will you please add up those scores?
Okay. Surprisingly, Trent Reznor on the Violent Vinyl Frontman leaderboard has a total score of 69.47, putting him in slot 3, which is at the bottom of the chart.
Delin.
Thanks to Des.
Delin.
69.
69.
69.
Okay.
Nice.
Dave gave us the fucking hang loose sign, so there you go. He endorses my 69 tonight. Okay. Let's break this album down. I think we already have. We could probably score it, but let's go ahead and break it down track by track anyway. First track on the album is Head Like a Hole. So, of course, this is an iconic Nine Inch Nails song with good reason. This opening synth riff, it is so fucking catchy. As catchy as you're going to get with just a synth thing. And if I didn't know better, Dave, you can speak on this with me. I swear I just got 3 different choruses, each better than the next, in one song. Like, I felt like there were 3 parts that all could have been a smash hit #1 chorus. I was really blown away by this. It's a monster hit with endless hooks. This is really good. Dave, what did you think?
Oh, yeah. Song opens with some layered drum beats and then samples, and then kicks in with a great synth riff. This was the second single released from the album. It reached number 9 on Billboard's Bubbling Under Hot 100 chart. It was reportedly written very quickly, quote, in about 15 minutes in his bedroom. It was one of the last songs completed for the album. We get some pretty gnarly guitar tone in the first part of the chorus. Good, memorable, sing-alongable chorus. And love that lyric in the second verse, let's go dancing on the backs of the bruised.
Oh, so
Yes.
good.
There's sort of a short drum / noise breakdown in the middle, and then we repeat the chorus. It's a good song. Very accessible. The drum beat keeps things moving nicely throughout.
Nice. Lisa.
Well, I'd already seen them in concert before I heard this album all the way through. So this was not my first listen. But this is a great way to start an album. It's an angry song. It's just crazy in your face. Bow down before the one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve. Come on.
So good.
Great lyrics, right? I was back in the day, my little gothy heart was just black listening to this song.
Pitter patter.
So my goodness. Yeah. It's an edgy song. There's a little bit of like BDSM, domination in there, a little bit of self-hatred. All of the things that I was going through at that age were kind of in this song. It's a song I would blast on the radio, driving down the road, driving like a crazy person while I was angry and screaming. But it's also a song you could dance to in a club, which a lot of the, hits in 1989 were not dance songs at all. So there's obviously no guitars in this music, but you do hear synth guitars, which later are played by real guitars when he plays live. So, the song doesn't sound exactly the same when you hear it live that it does on the album.
I'm 100% sure it sounds better live. 100% sure. 100%.
As a fan of synth in general, I do like when there are no other instruments other than things created by synth. It's definitely part of the genre, and Trent is one of the best at it, for sure. When I heard this song again after all these years, I instantly thought, Black Celebration. And, as Delin already brought up, this was one of the influences that he used. And, Black Celebration was a bunch of like sexual innuendo and passion, right? And then this song is sexual innuendo, passion, and anger. So it was a little more my style.
Yeah, at least that's a perfect example, though. You quoted those lines, bow down before the one. Like, that's a chorus. Then it goes into head like a hole. Like, there's your second chorus. It's like,
it's like a pre-chorus and then a chorus. Yeah.
Oh, they're so good. And then there's even another part that could be a chorus. It's like, it's rare to get 3 great hooks in one song like that. Yeah. Delin, did you like it?
Yeah, I love it. Of course, this was the first song I ever heard by Nine Inch Nails because it's the first song on the album. So, like Dave mentioned, that the way this song ebbs and flows, even though it's electronic, like you get the quiet moments, you get that breakdown where it's just like the beat. And I love that. You know me, I love a dynamic moment in a song where it breaks it down and it comes back. And, you know, like you said, with the different choruses layering over it, it's so good. Again, I watched the video and I was like, that's the dude? He's a little weird. Okay. But like, you know, I really thought that it was a fantastic song, and it's actually a really good video. I watched it again, and yeah, he was doing something else nobody else was doing. Even though he's borrowing from a bunch of people, he did it his own way. And I got to appreciate that.
Yeah, everybody borrows from everybody at this point. I can't even talk about people ripping people off anymore because it's just not a thing anymore.
Right.
There's nothing original to be written.
But you can still talk about the influences. It's the truth.
Influence. Yeah. I like to use the word influence, not rip off.
Yeah.
It's very hard to not influence something at this point. Track number 2, Terrible Lie. And my first introduction to Trent Reznor definitely would have been the Empire of Darts. Is that what it was called? The song?
Close. Hurt.
Yes, that would have been my first. And then of course, the Johnny Cash stuff, which was just fucking gut-wrenchingly good.
Trent even said that it's no longer his song anymore after Johnny covered it.
Yeah. What's your thought on that, Lisa? The cover.
I loved it. And my dad was a country musician and Johnny Cash was his idol. So I had a lot of Johnny Cash background in my life. But the emotion that he was able to bring through on that song, especially with what he was going through, having just lost June. Oh my God, it was absolutely beautiful. And Trent's right. When people say, oh, did you hear the Johnny Cash song Hurt? I think Nine Inch Nails covered it. You know, it makes sense. So
That's so awesome. Okay, track number 2, Terrible Lie. So on this one, I really love the contrast between the super tight verse, like it's really tight, and then it opens up into the chorus. And again, it's the simplicity of the way he writes that makes it so good. It's a very simple chorus, but it's very, very good. Now, of course, I'm not used to listening to music made up completely of sequencers, synth, drum machines. Like, this is just not something I'm used to listening to. But I can appreciate what he's doing, but I can't help but to think it feels stiff. The album feels stiff. And I mean, of course, it's going to feel stiff because you're not getting any human ambiance on it. You know, you're not getting, like, for instance, when we did Appetite for Destruction, they actually let Steven Adler play without a click track, which is like almost unheard of when making a record. But they wanted that human feel. They wanted the slowing down and the speeding up. We're getting none of that here. This is like in time. Okay. So I was trying to imagine this song and this album like with Flea on bass, Dave Navarro on guitar, Chad Smith, the drummer of the Chili Peppers, on drums, and creating that album along with all the samples, along with all the drum machines, along with all these patches and synths. I think that album would have been better from a flow standpoint, and probably would have made this album even more mainstream and got him as big as a Manson at the time. I think he would have been the king. But like I was saying to Dylan in the car today, for me, would it have been a better record with better flow? Absolutely. But would it have been this record? No. So do you do that? Probably not. I think it's best the way it is presented. Dave, what you think?
Yeah, he, from what I was reading, like he wasn't really interested in working with other people or trying to put together a band. He was just sort of getting his ideas out, get them out of his head. And, sort of he wanted to just put out like the most, I guess, pure version of, what he had kind of brewing in his creativity. This one was not listed as a single, but I know I've heard it before. Opens with some distorted drums. Verse is kind of sparse to highlight the vocal, and then kicks into the chorus, which is just the phrase "terrible lie" repeated over some lush synth chords. But it's okay; it works. Towards the end, there's an interesting synth / piano sound that they seem to use a lot. According to a 1990 Keyboard Magazine article, that sound started out as a woodblock sample or a sound. He ran it through a distortion pedal, sampled it, and did some manipulation of the sound, octave change, and chopping off the beginning of the waveform. So he's doing some synth massaging of these sounds. Let's see. It said it was probably his favorite sound on the record. And then we get the competing, softly sung, and whispered lyrics on separate sides of the stereo field. You get one ear you're hearing the singing, one ear you're hearing the whispering. That was kind of neat at the end of the song.
I liked it, Dave. That super repetitive chorus that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that can either work or something that can like not work. And I've heard it both ways. It's great. It's a great lyric. So it's fine if you want to say it 100 times in a row. Someone who kind of adopted this later on would be like Kurt Cobain, someone who again could find that fucking like those 2 or 3 words that you just be like, okay, just say it to me 100 times in a row. I love it, and that's kind of what we got here. Lisa, down in it. I'm sorry.
Oh God, I have a lot to say about this.
Terrible Lie.
Terrible Lie. Yeah. This is so. There's a little spoiler alert here. This is my favorite Nine Inch Nails song of all time. This is in my top 10 favorite songs of all time. I love this song. But before I start talking about the song, does anybody notice on this album that unlike most albums of the time, there are beautiful transitions between the songs. The songs
actually,
roll.
I was going to say that one song's still going and the other song is starting, and he does that over and over again, and it flows so good.
Oh my God. The fact that you guys said that is going to come in later when I'm like, these songs start bleeding into each other. That's why I didn't recognize it till you just said that.
Yeah. The sequencer from Head Like a Hole is still going as Terrible Lie is starting.
Yeah.
And
it's just beautiful.
Yeah. It's I really love that. It's one of my favorite things. And I love it. When the song melds into Something I Can Never Have later. I love that transition. It's like my favorite. Yep. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's one of my favorite parts of this album, and it fits a lot with when you go to goth clubs. If you have a good DJ, they're able to do these transitions between songs too. They build them themselves, of course, in that case. But he was kind of doing the work of a DJ on this album, which no one else was doing at the time, right? This is a very dark and angry and emotional song. And, there's a lot of really nice musical things in here that I like. There's a little like synth guitar before the verse lines, and there's whispering lyrics, mixed with like angry growling lyrics. But the most important things to me in this song are the lyrics themselves. Seems like salvation comes only in our dreams. Who doesn't believe that? So I think there's 2 meanings behind this song. I think one of the meanings, and Trent has talked about this in some interviews, is that the church, religion, has given you this kind of lie about what life is like. And when you finally snap out of it and look around at the world and see what a shit show it is, you realize it's just all been a huge lie, right?
Love it.
But you could take the same thing and apply it to any relationship where there's been a betrayal. Right? So if you're in a relationship with a covert narcissist, I believed your promises and lies, right? It's like creating this fake world with a fake future full of fake promises, and they take everything that they can from you, draining you until you're like literally on your knees, crazy and empty. And these are the lyrics of a person in that kind of situation. So he's never talked about really the inspiration, if there was actually a woman behind some of these really dark lyrics. He's never talked about that, but they're so personal. I can't think that this is just him talking about a universal experience. I feel like he had to have gone through some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And one more thing is that there's a lot of and this goes through the whole album, right? There's a lot of times where there's whispering, and if you're listening on headsets, there's one lyric in your right ear and one lyric in your left ear, and you can't really make out what it is. So there's actually a lot of hidden lyrics on this album, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but I'm not going to reveal all of them. I'll let everybody do their own research on that. So
I love that. It's so Sammy Kerr.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah. And even to this day, I still, anytime somebody's lying to me and I know it, I'm in my head, I'm yelling, terrible lie, because I know,
So
Do,
That's
do,
so
do,
awesome.
do, do.
Bringing Lisa onto the show was like putting good gas in your car, right? Like I had a hot rod, but I was like putting the fucking like the cheap gas in it.
Racing gas.
Hey, I've got some
You're
VP in
hyping
this
me
sucker
up.
now.
You're
I've got
hyping me
some-
up too much.
I've got some VP gas in this sucker now, man. We're redlining it. Delin, talk about the tune.
Yeah, I mean, it's that sequencer into from Head Like a Hole into the song, like Lisa was saying, just so good. It's like nobody was doing that. It was this melding of these two songs, and it's like you're just following the flow of the ocean, even though it's this sequencer, industrially electronic music. It still has a ton of flow, and I know that you were saying to me earlier that you didn't feel like there was flow, but I think there is. It was just different.
Different.
Yeah, different than what we were used to at the time and different than what was popular at the time. But it's like I actually had a feeling when I was listening to this album that like this was almost timeless. Like, can you place it? If somebody gave you this album and said this came out today, would you believe them?
Absolutely.
I just might.
I think today, I think it would be bigger today than it was when it came out because real musicians are a thing of the past. They're actually fading away and people are making more and more music without any organic instruments on it. So yeah, I think it's huge today.
Yeah, but this is, it's a very catchy song that synthesized do like it sticks in your head. It's great. It's a good song.
All right, track number 3, Down in It. So this is one of my favorite verses on the album. This one stood out to me. My only knock on this song is this rain, rain, go away, come back some other day. I did not like this, and I'm going to tell you why I didn't like it. It's fine, and it fits in the song, but I feel like Trent Reznor has so much to say on this album, and the strength of this album is it's built on his lyrics, not his vocal performance, his lyrics, and sometimes on the vocal performance, because like Lisa said, he's a lot of inflection, a lot of feel goes into what he's singing, which makes up for the fact that he's not doing a lot of singing. So I really liked it, but I thought that this one line was very, for lack of a better word, lame and kind of beneath what he brought on the rest of the album. I think he could have probably created his own version of that little childhood rhyme that would have been more clever and better. So besides that, I mean, this song is fucking killer. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, supposedly the first song ever written by frontman Trent Reznor. It was the first single released from the album. We got some deep, deep bass to start this one. Good chorus here, although I'm not fond of the rapped verses. There are many sounds to enjoy that maybe as a regular rock listener, you might not be used to. I do like the broken electronic piano sound in the chorus. Just like you, I could do without the rain, rain, go away and the sing song part after that. I feel like those are kind of filler.
A little weak.
Yeah, I did see in 2010, he admitted that this song was his attempt to make a ripoff of the Skinny Puppy song Dig It from 1986.
Nice.
Around the time of the single's release, the band lip-synced a performance of this song on the dance music show Dance Party USA. Because according to them, it was the most absurd choice that they could come up with at the time.
Dave, is that the show that I sent you the Motley Crue Shout at the Devil clip for? Where they lip-synced their tune?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was the same show. I don't remember.
Oh, I think it is. I'm like 100% sure it was.
Maybe.
That's so cool.
But yeah, they were surprised to actually get booked. And it is up on YouTube if you want to check it out. Cool. And is anybody going to talk about the controversy that happened over the video?
What happened in the video?
I'm going to talk about the video itself, but you can talk about
down.
the controversy.
Well, if you have the facts, you can talk about it.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So the video for this led to one of the strangest incidents in the band's history. While they were making it, a camera rigged to balloons for an aerial shot got out of the film crew's hands and eventually landed almost 300 miles away in a field where a farmer found it.
Oh, shit.
He watched the footage on it and he immediately turned over the evidence to the police. The result was a year-long investigation in which Michigan State Police and even the FBI tried to solve the puzzling case of the apparent on-screen murder they saw in the video.
But was it a murder, though? That was the question, right?
So, yeah, Trent Reznor's chalk white appearance to play up his role as the dead guy was apparently a little too convincing, and the authorities were certain they had a real-life snuff film on their hands. Because keep in mind, this is before they were really famous.
Right.
So they had an investigation.
Yeah. And I'm also sure the sheriff that was leading the investigation's name was like Cletus, like Cletus. I'm 100% sure this LA man in his plastic pants is
long-haired weirdo.
Long-haired weirdo. He's probably in some like weird homosexual sex thing and got killed.
Jesus.
I don't know. So kids out there, a camera on a balloon is basically a drone.
It's an old-timey drone.
80s drone. So there you go. Lisa, finish the story on this song.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we'll go back to the video. This is the first video I ever saw of Nine Inch Nails, but I had already seen them live. And it was a different band live than was in the video, which was a little confusing to me. But there is quite a bit of controversy over this video, not just because of the fact that there was a murder investigation that came out of it,
So cool.
but because it dealt with a very difficult subject, right? It technically was supposed to be a suicide in the video, and the bandmates found his body at the bottom of the industrial area wherever they were, right? So the lyrics of this song are really interesting, and they remind me of another song that's related and is also about suicide that people don't really understand. So I think when people first hear this song, they think, oh, somebody is doing really well and then it went bad for them. So that I was up above it, then I was down in it. And oh, it's just the ups and downs of life. But it's not really. It's supposed to be about how when someone has decided that they are going to unalive themselves, they get happy because they know that the pain is about to end, right? So if you've ever heard the song Today by Smashing Pumpkins, today is the greatest day, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people don't know that that's about the day somebody commits suicide because they're finally going to be without pain. So it's a very poignant song. I was already a fan of Skinny Puppy at the time, so I immediately heard Skinny Puppy in this song. It has some techno in it, like pure techno, which made it very much a dance song, which I also loved at the time. There wasn't a lot of that out in, especially not on MTV at the time. So I thought that was super cool. But the lyrics and everything I never liked about you is kind of seeping into me. I mean, beautiful, just gorgeous lyrics. And I like there's like I call it a pseudo guitar. It's not really a guitar. It maybe should be a guitar, but it's not really a guitar. And it goes into the bridge right before he screams like, I used to be somebody. There's like this really neat guitar kind of, we'll call it a riff. It's not really a riff when it's synth, but you catch me.
Yeah. Imagine if that was played by Dave Navarro.
Yeah. Somebody. Yeah.
Like, holy shit. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, bang.
Yeah, I'll cross my heart and hope to die, but the needle's already in my eye. I've always loved that line too. And
good.
I love there's a really like drawn out long guttural scream at the end of the song that is just beautiful emotion. And I absolutely love it. So there's also, a lot of Nine Inch Nails songs in general have been covered over the years. There's a really interesting cover of this song by an artist called Tiga, who is a Canadian DJ. And someone, introduced me to Tiga and said, hey, listen to this album. And I'm listening to the song. I'm like, oh, I love Nine Inch Nails. And they look at me like, what do you mean?
What's that?
This is a cover song of Nine Inch Nails. And they didn't even know it. So it's an interesting cover of this song. So yeah.
So fun fact, one of the first suicide songs written about this was done by the Partridge Family, and the song was called Come On, Get Happy. Come on, get happy.
Mm-hmm.
No, I
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if it was really a suicide song.
You never know. I question all the happy songs now once I learn stuff like this.
Holy shit.
My little gothy sad heart, wants everybody to feel like me. So
that's so funny. I would like to just say I don't think that song is about suicide. Delynn, what'd you think of this song though? And that song if you want.
No, thank you.
Okay.
So I agree with you. I could do without the Rain Rain Go Away. If you had ended it on that guttural scream, I would have thought it was better. I think it's a little childish and almost like a filler. It didn't need to be there. But I do know that the single, because I did buy the single, because I don't know, I already owned the album. Why am I buying singles? But you do it anyways. It had a graphic on it that is very reminiscent to Joy Division,
Yes.
Unknown Pleasures. And it's clearly an homage to that. And I appreciate that he didn't try to hide the people that influenced him, because a lot of people are always like, oh no, I just made this up myself, I'm so great. And he was just like, I'm gonna just rip off Unknown Pleasures and use it on my album cover. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, one of the first real examples of that would be the shirt I'm wearing tonight. As you can see, I am wearing my Vanilla Ice shirt, which is kick ass. And his went doom 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 doom, where Queen went doom 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 doom. So you can see the difference there. I mean, it's original. It's all original.
Oh,
let's go through our shirts. Lynn, what is your shirt tonight? What are you wearing?
I'm just wearing a plain shirt tonight. I don't have anybody on it.
Wow, that's interesting. Dave,
sorry.
What are you wearing tonight? Who are you promoting?
Blackcraft Clothing Company.
Nice.
Clothing from hell.
And Lisa, are you promoting anybody this evening?
No, I have a little pirate 1950s style dress with skulls and things on it. So
you're doing the Jack Sparrow tonight?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go to track 4, Sanctified. This song would be 100% better with a real funk bass line, okay? Like, great. It's a great sample. I get it. It would almost fool you if you didn't know, but I know. I want to hear Flea whacking his thumb off those strings and bringing it right here. I want a real Jane's Addiction style guitar track on this to go along with my Flea funk bass line. It's going to completely change the song, but in my opinion, for the better. As it is, definitely a little stiff. It's a little flat from a musical standpoint. The instrument patches, they're starting to get a little boring for me. It's working with his music, but I'm a musician and it's just not real music. I say that not in a bad way. It is real music, but it's real music delivered in a way that I have never received it in this big of a body before. So it's starting to just be like, my brain is going, why aren't we hearing a real bass here flowing with a kick-ass bass line? I just can't understand it. But I really, really love the lyrics here. And Trent's vocal style on this track, really, really good. Really, really good. So again, I really like this song. That's 4 in a row. The album is off to a really good start for me. I didn't expect it to be this. Dave.
This one starts a little more straight ahead with some drums, synth, and a catchy bass line. We add in some accent parts as the song goes on. And a middle break drops the hypnotic drums and bass for some barely audible samples of Gregorian chanting and somebody speaking. We finally bring the pattern and the chorus back in. I think he's talking about doing it with a nun in this song.
Nice. What could be better?
Nice. There is a lot of blasphemy in this album, so
I love it.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. Lisa, what do you got?
Oh, so this at the time grabbed my heart as a replacement for a glam power ballad. This is a super sexy song, very slow. The beginning of the song reminds me of an early 80s post-punk song initially, but then it definitely drops into a very just smooth and like whispery and buttery, sound. The guitar in this, like you were just saying, you wanted a real guitar and you wanted to hear like the finger plucking, right?
The bass.
Yeah,
so bad.
the bass. And to me, when I heard that, I almost felt like it was very close to real. I mean, he's sampling a real bass player and you could hear up like a string pluck, even though there are clearly no strings to pluck.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and that's, that's why I love synth so much, right? Is because you can recreate any sound. And like in this song, you hear things that sound like lasers and things that sound like thunder and things that sound like instruments and things that sound like metal falling on the ground. And it's just like super cool. But again, it's the lyrics for me of this song and how they're delivered and the whispering and the way he kind of, weaves the lyrics through the song. And if she says, come inside, I'll come inside for her. And if she says, give it all, I'll give everything to her. Oh my God. Right?
I love those lines.
Oh
I
my
love
God.
those lines.
Yep. In the beginning of the song, that's the pre-chorus. And in the beginning of the song, he kind of just almost speaks it like a poem. And then towards the end, he's screaming the pre-chorus. And it's very like full of emotion. I just love it so much. And it's really a song for me that shows how flexible synth music can be and how natural it can be. So.
Yeah, no, I agree too. Because I mean, the only reason I made the comment about the bass line is because it was almost that. Like it almost was that. Like he got so close, I couldn't believe it, but it wasn't. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Dylan.
So I appreciate the layers in this song, like Dave was talking about the chanting and the voices that are like but it's like this is the sexy song. Like I remember hearing this when I was like, in high school and being like, like, being like, that's naughty, because I was a kid, But it's really well done. The lyrics are awesome. He delivers it so well. It builds, like Lisa was saying, it's starting out almost like a talking and just it's building a little and a little. By the end, he's coming undone, And I really feel the emotion here. And it's like we talked about earlier this week when we were talking about the album. The funny thing is that some of the music can be kind of cold and a little bit emotionless because it is synth, but then he comes in with that, and it's like, fuck, okay, dude, you got me.
Yeah. It's that sweet and salty thing,
Yeah.
It just works very well together. It almost sets him up to work. Track number 5, Something I Can Never Have. So there's two things about this song why I really, really love this song. One, I love the horror movie feel to it. The opening keyboard almost reminds me of the Halloween fucking do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. It's a little different, but it's got the basic vibe. And then I think this is where Trent Reznor really shined on this album and showed his vocal chops. We get this really, really nicely produced vocal. Like it's the best produced vocal on the entire album. It elevates the song. The production is so buttery smooth. His voice is so fucking good here. And the lyrics are great. It feels like this is one of the ones that felt kind of like poetry in spots, but he's also really bringing this really nice melody to this vocal. But I was saying to Glenn, I can't help but to compare this to like Depeche Mode or The Cure. The only difference is those bands are incorporating real instruments, making the music deeper. And when I say deeper, I don't mean from an emotional point of view. I just mean more to listen to as far as like, human emotion on a record. More dynamic. This song, it felt like the backdrop to like a horror movie scene. And I dug it. I thought it was really cool. Dave, are you getting those vibes?
Oh yeah, that was the first thing I wrote down was the cool, spooky beginning.
Yeah.
But then I thought it morphed into almost what sounded like 90s new age music, or at least what would become after. The second section builds in intensity, and the percussion is quite forward in the mix. It's interesting how his vocal melody is happy and major key in the first verse. Then he changes it in the second verse to definitely non-major. I didn't work out what it was. It might be pentatonic. He might have some out of scale notes, but definitely less happy, positive sounding than before. It seems to change again with the third verse and chorus go around with a new level of desperation and intensity in that last chorus. So that was sort of nice touch that they put on there for that performance.
Nice. Lisa, what did you think of this one? Did you get that horror movie vibe?
Well, this song was featured in one of my favorite movies of all time. You might call it a horror movie, in Natural Born Killers.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, so it's playing in the background during the scene when Mickey and Mallory have their first fight and they kill the or Mickey kills the Native American man who took them in and took care of them after they had the snake bites.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
He then he tells the story about the woman who saved the snake, and it's playing behind that song. And I feel like, he's obviously scored movies since this time, but I feel like even back in the day, when he writes his songs, and I think I sort of alluded to this earlier, it's more than just the song. It's a whole visual experience. And I feel like almost he's got a movie playing in his head when he writes some of these songs, so that some of them should just be like movie soundtracks or movie scores. So this is definitely one of them. He's a classically trained pianist, which means he should be very adept at complex piano here. This is a very simple and piano line behind it that works perfectly in the song, and only somebody with that kind of training could come up with it's just a few notes here and there, and it's just so beautiful. I love it so much. There isn't really like drums or any kind of like rhythm driving behind this song. It's just kind of this spoken poem and this haunting piano, and just brings it forward. This is another one of the songs that I claim was written about someone, about a real experience, because how can you write something so emotional without having the experience? But if you hear him talk about it, he claims that this is, the pain of wanting something that you can't have. It's a universal experience that everyone has, but he's had this experience, and clearly there is somebody in mind when he's writing and singing this song. The desperation in his voice is like unmatched. I don't think anyone else could have sung this song except for him.
He's covering up some shit.
He's got some darkness.
He's not that good of an actor.
Yeah. I mean, Lisa, the point that he has actually come out and said that, he's kind of embarrassed of where his head was at during this album, that he bared, his soul on this, and maybe he regrets some of that, leads me to believe that, like you said, this is about somebody and he does not want that story revealed. Yeah.
There's a quote from him, a more recent quote where he said, when I wrote these songs, I figured no one was ever going to hear them anyway. So I just wrote what I felt. And now he's kind of, now he's married with kids and has a happy life, and it's not him anymore. And yeah.
But what's amazing about that, he's apologizing for doing what I respect in a songwriter, which is writing from, life experience, which I talk about on this show so much. Like when you got these guys that just have nothing to say, like Bon Jovi, it's like, okay, so you dated a girl in high school and you like fucking cowboy movies. Like, what else? Like, did anything else happen? Yeah. Like, because we've done this for 4 albums now. Like, I really can respect a guy like Trent Reznor just pouring his fucking soul out. And, that's how I write music. I write from, personal experience, pain, and sometimes joy. And it always comes off being, original when you do that. She's my cherry pie, not original. Oh. Okay.
Well, the story behind cherry pie. You know they didn't want to. Janie Lane hated that song.
Yeah, I know.
Give Janie his due. He was a much better guy than he got credit for back in the day.
Yeah, I'm also sure that him and his buddy were never outside Uncle Tom's Cabin. It's a good song, but this is all fairy tale.
Fair
and
enough.
I just like to hear songs about, people's real gut-wrenching pain. Give me the pain. Delynn, give me some pain on this.
Okay, here's the deal with this song.
Okay.
When I was a little baby Delynn, I would listen to this song and I would go, oh, that didn't hurt me enough. I got to back it up and listen to it again. And I would listen to it on repeat and hurt myself over and over. It was like stabbing myself in the chest, and it was cathartic. And I only can imagine that Trent Reznor felt as cathartic when he wrote it, because, I mean, echoing your voice just like the ringing in my ears, like the whole song, it hurts my heart in such a beautiful way. But the funny thing is when you listen to it, the whole thing is kind of, it's in a diminutive, it's kind of down, it's low. But at the very end, the something I can never have, he goes up and it ends like on a positive note. Like he's like, it's almost like you feel like the sun breaking at the end. It's kind of a weird thing. Like I expected it to kind of end on this down note, and it doesn't. It ends with him, going up, in tone. And it's really beautiful. I think it's a beautiful piece of poetry.
So Delynn just showed us on the doll where Trent Reznor hurt her.
Aw. I totally agree with you about playing it over and hurting yourself. I actually had the same word in my notes. Was a catharsis when I was a kid and I would play it. And it's interesting that this is the end of side A, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of bands try to put, the end of an upbeat at the end of side A. And this one is like, you've poured everything out. You are now exhausted. You're crying. You're on the floor. And now you need a rest. So the side is over. So now we're going to flip the tape. Yeah.
Exactly.
I shredded my heart with a fucking fork 1,000 times in a row while listening to Nothing Shocking. So everybody has that album. Like I was going through a thing and that was the soundtrack for it. And I was like, well, one more time up the beach, Okay. So that ends side A. And I wanted to discuss the new Marilyn Manson single and video. I know my co-hosts weren't super excited about it because, as we all know, he made some personal choices in his life that are unforgivable, allegedly that are unforgivable. And, he was canceled, which is another reason I need to bring this up. So, how many of our, and I'm going to use this word lightly, heroes, rock stars, people that you were looking up to during a time of your life that, were on top, were writing great albums, were, just looked amazing. We're setting the fucking bar for the way people in that genre were dressing and looking with contacts and grills and these outfits. And I know so many people that were just completely transformed after they saw this album, Portrait of an American Family. And we're just like, oh, it shook the world and it changed everything for so many people. Kind of like Guns N' Roses did when they just changed the landscape of hair metal. Like it was that important what he did. And then he completely was canceled for being a fucking creep. And he completely turned into a fucking like boiled ham, where I would see videos of Marilyn Manson and be like, no fucking way. No fucking way. This is what this guy became. It was like watching Vince Neil being the abominable snowman. Like, no, like it hurts to see this. And I would see Manson in that boot, all fat with his bad hair and his giant head. And I would be like, oh, poor Marilyn Manson. Why does this happen to our heroes? So fast forward to about 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, I'm scrolling YouTube and I see a live thumbnail of Marilyn Manson. And he's like this skinny, young Marilyn Manson looking. So I'm like, oh, interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this. So I popped it on. I started watching this and I'm like, holy fuck. This is like a month ago. I'm like, no fucking way. So I run downstairs. I'm like, Dwayne, how is this even possible? This doesn't happen. So then YouTube algorithm throws the new video at me. Sick as the Secrets Within. And I hit play. And I'm like, no, dude, this is a fucking unicorn. This doesn't happen. People don't come back from being canceled, from looking like a boiled ham that was fucking cooked in a microwave. It just doesn't happen. This doesn't happen. People don't do this. He did it. I don't know how. He looks like it's 1998 again. He is fucking ripped. His arms are buff. His hair is good. His grill is perfect. His contacts are beautiful. His band is cool. This fucking song, as sick as the Secrets Within, is fucking amazing. It's like old Marilyn Manson. Delyn said it best. Probably not Portrait of an American Family, but more like off. Your mic is off.
It's kind of more like Hollywood. It's a little bit more like Mechanical Animals.
Yes. And he's bringing the old style of Marilyn Manson vocals, but he is now singing at a new level. He is adding harmonies and melodies that I've never heard him deliver before. And I was fucking floored by this comeback. Floored. I don't think I've ever seen a comeback this complete and successful ever. And it was worth talking about. And again, I don't want to glorify Marilyn Manson. I'm not here to blow sunshine up his ass. I'm just talking about the artist and what he was able to do. And I have to applaud the effort and the result because it is something that you'll probably never see done this well again. It was really something. Dave, did you watch the video? Have you heard the song?
Nah. No, I haven't.
Okay.
It just proves that the worst sin in Hollywood is apparently getting fat, and anything else you can get away with if you got enough money and power, right?
Right. Okay. Lisa, have you seen the video or heard the single?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
So his name is one we no longer speak. If you go to the goth clubs now, we don't play his music. We don't speak his name. We listen to the women who have some, very similar stories, shocking stories. There's a lot of, legal fights going on. They're still ongoing at this point. The most recent is that at the beginning of the year, he had sued Evan Rachel Wood and Dina Von Teese, saying that they were lying, and the courts determined they were not lying. That was early 2024. So we stand with the women who were manipulated and hurt by him. Evan Rachel Wood was only 18 years old when she met a 37-year-old Manson, and you can see where that went. I find it horrible that the women went through what they did, and it was more than just those two. They just happened to be the famous women that he was involved with, and we stand by them. So,
well, that's very commendable, and I am sure that he probably brought a lot of hurt and pain to a lot of people that did not deserve it. But I was just here to talk about the artist, and that was pretty much all, because this is a music show and we were kind of going down that, path of music.
Well,
tonight,
don't get me wrong. Portrait of an American Family is my favorite. We'll call it my favorite Manson album. I thought it was the best ever. I liked it better than what is considered, if you look in the press, Antichrist Superstar is considered his, pinnacle of his career. I didn't think so at all. Portrait was it for me.
I agree.
Yeah, but yeah, at this point, it's it's I don't care if it's politics or business or music or anything else. When you hurt women, you're dead to me. So.
Yeah. I mean, I was saying to Delindo, if you're listening to Marilyn Manson albums and his lyrics, it's like, is it really surprising? I mean, does this really surprise you that this is who this person is behind closed doors?
So that was said a lot. That was said a lot in the legal arguments. It was like, he's telling you who he is through his music and his performances. Why didn't you see it ahead of time? But I've had talks with him. I've had hour-long talks with him. He's an extremely intelligent man. I never would have thought that he would have tortured a woman. It was a character.
Ted Bundy. Yeah. So was Ted Bundy. They say he was one of the smartest men ever. So
well, see, there's the thing. You can't know until you know.
Right. You can't know unless you experience it. So
yeah, I've met him numerous occasions. My friend pseudo dated him a little bit. It was a weird thing. But anyways, it was, I was around him. I was around his bandmates. He was a creep to his bandmates, but we had a couple of interactions that were very nice. And it's like, did I think he could be like that? No. Did having a ton of money and a famous wife make him like that? Maybe. I don't know. But, it's the women didn't ask for that. And, Des made me watch the video. I was like, I don't want to watch it. He's like, just sit there and watch it.
Forced her to watch it.
He forced me to watch it.
Like Marilyn Manson as I punched her in her face. That didn't happen. That did not happen.
I mean, I will say it's one of the most disappointing, quote unquote, we'll call it. It's not, I don't consider it a cancellation, but it's one of the most disappointing, losses in my music career when I had to go and unfollow him, because I was such a huge fan, and I can't count how many times I've seen them live. Right up to 2018, I saw him was the last show. So
dozens and dozens of times. I've seen them so many times, and I was so disappointed that this happened, and so disappointed in him. It's like, do better, dude. Just do better, because the music was great. And he's talking about crazy shit, but it's like, so wait, so Anne Rice wrote about crazy shit. Does that make her like a man beater? No, like it just,
So what did you think of the new song in the video?
I mean, it was cool. Like I said, it was kind of more Hollywood. It was Mechanical Animals. That was not when I liked him the most. I liked him the most in Portrait and in Antichrist Superstar. But, good for him. I hope that he fucking has a come to Jesus moment and, apologizes and tries to make things better instead of, denying it.
And that would make things better if he did that.
Yeah, if he did that, I would feel a little bit better. But it's like, I just feel uncomfortable listening to his music now. It doesn't make me feel good anymore. And it used to make me feel good.
I mean, unfortunately, and this is just a fact, there's a lot of our heroes and a lot of our people that have created really great music and film that just, this is what they are. You know, I mean, I know somebody who was very intimate with Axl Rose and will say that, you know, basically he did deplorable things that make what Manson is being accused of, you know, seem pretty much in the pocket, like basically the same type things.
We all know Axl Rose sucks.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you know, these millionaire man children who were running the time, you know, they were doing what they wanted. And a lot of these guys, you know, Motley Crue, I know, I'm sorry, but I'm sure we could find an army of women that would say that, you know, these guys
Terrible
did.
things.
I mean, look at the fucking Motley Crue, the Netflix thing. I mean, they're admitting that they were, you know, basically raping women in closets, saying that they were, you know, oh, no, I'm Tommy Lee. No, but it was really Nikki Sixx. It's like, this is sick, twisted behavior. And a lot of these rock stars were doing it. And that doesn't give any one of them a pass at all.
Right.
But, you know, it just shows you where we're at as a society. Human beings are dangerous, men especially.
I think that women need to stop keeping the secrets of shitty men.
Yes.
And then we would know.
Yeah.
So, Lisa, I asked this question a lot. If you were out in the woods, would you rather be hunted by a bear or an insane man?
A bear, 100%. And I have been,
within
inches of a bear on a hiking trip once. And I'll tell you what, I'll take a bear anytime over a random man, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, the most dangerous animal on earth to the human being is another human being. And that is fucking crazy and almost always a man.
And it's times two when you're a woman.
Yes, yes.
The worst thing a bear can do to you is kill you.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Men can do a lot worse things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You'll be begging for death. Okay. So that was pretty dark.
Jesus, that's very dark.
Wow. Fitting for our first industrial album.
Holy shit.
Dude, this whole episode was like 8mm with fucking with Nicolas Cage. I'm sweating too. I think the AC in the house is off because it's 100 degrees up here.
I'll check it.
Okay. Track number 6, Kinda I Want To. So I would have cut out this short intro and just come right in with the verse. Unfortunately, the album is starting to run out of fresh ideas musically for me, and the tracks are starting to blend together. Now, we discovered earlier that this was done intentionally, that they were blending these tracks together. But unfortunately, when everything is synth and patches, it starts to really it starts to get a little stale. I mean, like, I know Jane's Addiction did a lot of this on Nothing Shocking, where they were kind of running songs into each other, but it just, it had more definition to where you could feel these transitions. And then the next piece of music really kind of felt like its own thing, to where here I started feeling like I was hearing this intro over and over and over again. So it started to get a little stale for me. Overall, I thought the song was okay. Dave?
The various instrumental and sample parts mix and match across the stereo field in a fun way on this one. Definitely makes for a more interesting listening, opposed to, if they had a flat track for each instrument. We get a little guitar break in the middle and some funky bongos before the vocal comes back in. Is this about him not being able to resist his girlfriend who mistreats him? I'm kind of trying to decipher the lyrics here, but good song.
Lisa, what do you got?
I like the opening of this song. Thank you very much. It's like a little electro techno opening, dance worthy. It's definitely a club song that you can dance to. It reminds me a little bit of KMFDM in some places, and some other like synth bands of that time were doing this style of music. And like Dave, I had a little trouble trying to figure out what the lyrics were about and what I could come up with. I mean, they're interesting and flowing, but as far as what the story was about, it seems like he's disconnected from everything in the world, and he's maybe trying to find a way to experience things like the rest of the people in the world seem to, and he can't. And I feel that way sometimes too, that I don't understand things like other people do. That's what I got out of the lyrics. I'm not sure if I'm right. I couldn't find him talking about this song anywhere to explain the lyrics, but that's what I got. This song has a lot of chaos in it musically. It's almost in the realm of noise music. Not quite there, but it's organized noise. Can you have organized noise music? I don't think you can. But yeah, I like the quote unquote guitar in the bridge section. It's not a traditional solo, but it's definitely a feature of this pseudo guitar in the song. And then there's this noise of what sounds like almost like hitting pipes or banging on metal that like gets louder as the song goes on. I think it's really cool. But this is a great song to play at a gothy dance club.
Cool. I would also like to just say that the story I was speaking about with Axl Rose is, again, these are not facts. These are not substantiated facts. This is just what I heard. Allegedly from somebody that I know. So I don't want people to run out and fucking, throw their Appetite for Destruction albums in the trash just yet.
Well, that's why I said allegedly about Manson too, because like everything is still in the courts and things like that. And I
think we can pretty much bring the verdict in on that.
Yeah, go ahead. For sure. But this one is a little kind of, this one might be one, like if I had to skip a song, I think I'd skip this one just because, like you said, it does start to get a little samey around here. And there's so many songs on here that say so much that this one kind of not my favorite. I mean, I dig it, kind of I want to maybe just for tonight, we can pretend it's all right, but clever lyrics, but the song it's a little forgettable in a album full of really unforgettable songs.
Agreed. Track number 7, Sin. So this is what I felt about this one. So I imagine this song would be killer if you were in a goth club dancing in the dark with clips from Blade Runner and The Matrix playing on the walls of the club. It's a cool jam, but some of the music sections, they just go on too long, in my opinion. But that would be if I was listening to this again, like if I was listening to this as a song, like I want to listen to the album as a song. But if I'm in a nightclub and I'm dancing, let these sections roll, baby. Let them roll. So, yeah, I'm fine with it. I thought it was really cool. Definitely gave me a good vibe. Dave.
This song was the third single released from the album. I can't say I've ever heard this one, though. The record scratch sound as a percussion instrument is cool. There's an instrumental section in the middle, and my notes were perfect for dancing at the goth club. Yes.
Oh, shit.
Chorus is good too. So electronic instruments and samples were used on this album, obviously, as well as real guitar and vocals. The sequencing, which is sort of the recording of the synthesizer instruments, he did on an old Macintosh Plus computer. He used a couple different keyboards, an EMU Emax, Prophet VS, Oberheim Expander, and a Mini Moog as synthesizers.
Moog.
Prince, Jane's Addiction, and Public Enemy are listed in the liner notes as artists whose music was sampled on the album.
Nice. Lisa, what do you got on this one?
So we're doing Sin, right? No.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So you lost me for a minute there with Jane's Addiction and Public Enemy.
Sorry.
All right. I like this song. It's got a synth opening to it, but most of this song, I would say this is probably the least synthy song on the album. I would say it's a little bordering on maybe even a metal song. It seems to be the most traditionally arranged songs, so I see why they picked it for a single, a radio single. It definitely fits kind of the formulation of a song that can make it on the radio. The instruments sound more real here than they do synthy, like on some of the other songs, especially the guitar sounds more like an actual guitar. Go ahead.
I think he used a real guitar, and I think he just mangled it with the sampler
effects and
with effects boxes and just sort of molding it maybe in the synthesizer, like sampling his guitar that he actually played. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I think is going on all these guitars, why they kind of sound weird.
Yeah. Fucking threw it in a La Machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit. What was the La Machine?
The food processor, wasn't it? Just a regular.
Shit. Okay, sorry.
So the lyrics on this song are really cool, and so there's a lot of controversy when this song came out as a single because its name Sin implies that the song is actually about religion. But if you read the lyrics, it could be about any addiction, whether it's drugs or crazy ideas or religion or whatever, anything that can have power over you. But there's this nice line where he said it gives him courage, but it also takes things away from him. And like drugs do that, religion does that. Lots of any kind of addiction will do that. In interviews, he claims that it's not personal experience again, although I think that isn't true as usual, that it's a social commentary about how he was watching the world and watching people fall to their addictions and thinking that they were getting power and control from their addictions, but it was actually like destroying them. So
I wish he would embrace the true nature of this album.
I do too. Just own it.
Be better. Just own it. Write the book. Pretty Hate Machine, what it was about. Name everybody. I want to know it all. Jolene, go ahead.
So this one was a single, and they did release CD singles, if we remember CD singles, and it had a B-side of Queen's Get Down, Make Love.
Yes.
And it's so fucking good.
It's so good.
It's so good. I played it over and over and over, as well as playing Sin over and over and over. And of course, it had a bunch of remixes on it. So it's funny because sometimes when I listen to the original song, I kind of get lost of where I am because I'm so used to hearing the remixes.
Yep. I have that in my notes too. It's a lot of their songs are like that. In my head, I'm playing one of the remixes, and I'm like, "Oh, this is the album version. I forgot."
Yeah, Broken, Fixed, all the remixes on the singles. He was the king of remixing his own music, which I adore. Like because it's the same song, but it's different. But yeah, the Queen cover is fucking outstanding, and if you haven't heard it, you should definitely go listen to it. This song. Clever, it moves, it's fast. I can remember the words. I'm in it. I love it.
So it's going to be our first 2-hour episode. I'm hoping that I'm not going to charge anybody extra. Okay, get the extra.
I told you couldn't shut me up on this one.
It's okay. So track 8, that's what I get. This one really pop 80s feel to me. It's a song vocally very interesting. I'm not sure if I love it or I hate it, which is code for I loved it. It has an unbelievably original feel, super interesting melodies. Some are working, some aren't working, but when it's not working, it's still working. I'm confused. This one confused me in a good way. I really liked what he did here. He just said, I'm going to do something different. It was good. Dave.
Cool beginning on this one. Pretty straightforward. I liked the bell melody sound. The lyrics are a little simple and emo-y. Seems as if his girlfriend left him for someone else.
100%. You know that this is all fucking something that happened to him, and he wrote like this is like a burn book towards this girl, right?
Yeah. She broke my heart. Yeah. So yeah, there's kind of a bounce to the music. However, in the bridge, it changes to a straighter beat. The final part of the song adds additional instrumental parts and echoes to the percussion and winds up sounding very big, representing, those big feelings here.
Big feels on this one. Lisa, talk about the big feels this gave you.
So the beginning of this song made me think of an 80s, like, John Hughes movie, like Breakfast Club or something.
Fuck yeah.
And then it totally changes and it becomes like this slow, emotional song. And I'm like, what happened? It's very different, right? It's definitely an angry breakup song. There's a girl involved here. I don't care what he says. If he's trying to make a universal commentary, there's something real here. I like there's an anticipation line, I call it, in this song where he says, after you just taught me how to kiss you, and it's like later. Oh my God, I love that so much. Just so beautiful.
He was wiping away a tear.
Right?
With single tear.
It was like mixed with eyeliner, so it was kind of like a gray tear.
Hey, guy liner, okay, guy.
The guy liner, yeah.
There's another part where it says, "Why does it come as a surprise to think I was so naive? Maybe it didn't mean that much, but it meant everything to me." Who hasn't felt that? Like that
so
is
good.
How else can you put that into words better than that? It's absolutely perfect. The only thing that struck me about this song was, I keep saying that he writes songs with a movie in his head. I feel like we haven't seen the movie that this song goes with. Like, this is a soundtrack song, and there's a portion where there's a really long instrumental, section, and I'm thinking something should be happening in this part of the song. He's got a movie playing in his head where something's happening, and then he comes in when that's what I get, and I'm like, oh, that's the part in the movie where something explodes or something like goes crazy or whatever it is. So I almost feel like this was a movie he wrote and never produced.
Yeah, this was the soundtrack for Less Than Zero. I mean, come on, that's 100%.
Yeah.
Delynn.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting because he did go on to score a lot of movies, won awards for it, was involved with Lost Highway with David Lynch, and the music in that is outstanding. And David Lynch initially wanted Manson to do it, and I don't think Manson could get it together. And so Trent Reznor took over, and he does an amazing job because the soundtrack to Lost Highway is chef's kiss. It's fucking amazing. It's awesome. You've got Manson on there. You've got Nine Inch Nails on there. You've got David Bowie on there. It's like, it's so good. It's a fucking great album. This song, I love the pulling back and pushing forward. And it's 100% about a girl. I mean, come on. I guess I'm not the only boy for you. Like, yeah. And if it's not about
we know.
If it's not about a girl, it's about a boy, and that's okay too. Whatever works for you. Yep. But yeah, this whole album is a burn book to whoever broke his heart, and that's okay. Like,
I love it
because we all felt it too. We all feel that we have felt those emotions, and we're on the ride with him.
Fuck yeah. Track 9, The Only Time. This one was very interesting for me. If I was like a producer, like I was producing the album, I would have been like, okay, so this is where we're going to break the mold of this dark thing, and we're going to do this thing and make like the video, and this is going to be the hit. This is the one that everyone's going to remember you for. You add a real drummer to this, a real bass player, and this is In Excess. I mean, this is In Excess. I love this song, but with a live band mixed in, and then you tweak the arrangement a little bit and you tweak the chorus a little bit, this could have been fucking huge. Huge. I love this song. I absolutely love this song. Maybe not in its like complete form, the way it's presented to me, but I can hear the hit song hidden in this. Dave, do you agree?
Well, I guess you could say that because my first note is I get kind of an In Excess vibe from this one for some reason.
Awesome.
So I guess we're on the same wavelength.
Perfect.
But yeah, here's that weird piano sound that he likes again.
Yeah.
The other songs where the chorus is just one phrase repeated is short enough to work, but I think it's a little too much here. It works in, I believe it was 2 of the other songs, but I didn't believe he got away with it here. The synth solo is good at the song ending.
Yeah. Lisa, did you get a In Excess feel from this song?
I mean, a little bit. Michael Hutchence is a hot guy that can have some sexy songs, right? So this to me is a sexy song, and yeah, that totally fits to me. I didn't immediately feel that myself, but yeah, now that you say it, I totally hear it. So yeah. So I've already said what my favorite song is on this album, but at the re-listen of this song, I questioned myself because I actually really love this song too. It's hard to even pull good lyrics from this song because every lyric in this song is like memorable and amazing.
Yeah.
So I only picked a couple. Lay my hands on heaven and the sun and the moon and the stars while the devil wants to fuck me in the back of his car. Come on.
That's so fucking good.
Come on.
That's so good. That's so good.
Amazing. And it's, it's totally about someone, again, I think someone who you need to avoid. And when he says in the beginning, the first line of the song, I'm drunk, I don't think he means alcohol. I think he means limerence. I think he means, when you first meet someone and you have those butterflies and it's that limerence feeling and it's the only time you feel alive. This is someone who maybe never completed a real relationship, who sits in that limerence in those butterflies and thinks that that's what love is. And when those butterflies fade, they don't feel alive anymore. So they end the relationship, and that's not what real love is. Right. So, this is another song that has like minimal music behind it, right? A little bit of synth guitar, not too many drum lines, only over certain sections of the song. His vocals, again, are why the song is so good, why it's so sexy. He like whispers and he moans, and there's a line where he says, "This is the only time I really feel alive," and he goes like, and I'm like, oh my God, it's beautiful. I love it so much. Is he talking about a girl? I mean, I know I've been saying that through the whole thing. It's about limerence, but you could also say that this song might be about drugs, and it's the only time I feel alive is when I get high. So
yeah, when I listen to this song, I feel like he's talking about perhaps a young man he knew at some time in his life. Just kind of feels like that's the story he's telling here. I don't know. Could be wrong.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing wrong with that. The word limerence, if you're using this word, you're probably in therapy for childhood trauma. Go in.
So this song has this great line, "My moral standing is lying down." It's like,
love it.
It's like he can turn a phrase. Like you said, and I'm not saying he's Jim Morrison, but he's got that Jim Morrison-esque thing where he writes these words and you're like, wow, like you got me, bro. Like that was fucking awesome. It's a little bit of a sexy song, but it's also like this crossing of your own moral standards, just like I said with that line. And it's not my favorite song on the album, but it's a good one and really good lyrics. Really good lyrics on this one.
I don't know, Lisa, that line you quoted about the backseat, the devil, whoo, I'm
beautiful.
In. That's beautiful. Fucking some killer shit. That song just
the
went
lyrics
up.
on this song are amazing. Yeah.
I honestly didn't remember how good this song was. That it took me, the re-listen to remember how good it was.
It's fun going back to an old album like this, right? I mean, this wasn't an old album for me, but we've done it, like with the Pussycat last week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, track number 10, the final track on the song. We're going to try and squeeze this in under 2 hours right there. I was really kind of sick of this intro by this time. I feel like I'd heard this intro 10 times already. I didn't love the vocal from a melody standpoint on this song. This is the first time Trent kind of let me down on the album. The lyrics are great because Trent is a brilliant songwriter. But for me, the song completely missed the mark. This is the one they should have left off the album, in my opinion. Dave.
Rich, echoey synth to start this one. He's not afraid to have stark contrasts of sound from section to section of a song. Is he saying he just wants to find a nice girl and get married in here? Adding in the chop off your finger stuff to be extra super hot topic edgy.
Nice. Some
extra guitar heard in there. The instrumental part at the end seems kind of long. Great for the dance floor, though. And the song ends with a chopped up, I'm assuming, guitar sample.
Yeah, for sure. It is.
Yeah.
Lisa, final song. Do you like it?
Yeah, I do like it. And this is one of the songs, Dylan mentioned this earlier. There are 1,000 remixes of this song out there. And I honestly didn't remember which one was the album one when I heard this. It's a more happy, poppy, synthy song than some of the other songs on this album. It's much more post-punk and much less industrial than the other music is. I see why they ended the album with it like kind of on an up note with like to give you like a nice vibe at the end after tearing you down completely with just about every other song on this album. It's almost like a storytelling. There's like a dark and desperate story that he's telling, but he's like trying to, it's like almost in a dreamy sense, like a dreamy. And then another thing I like about this song is there's a techno synth bass, so not bass guitar, but techno bass under this song, which is one of my favorite things in music. I know you guys aren't really synth people, but I just love having a deep stompy bass on a song, and you hear that here. I like the kind of fake guitar solo. There was actually maybe even 2 of them in this song, but there was like a real quote unquote solo, but it wasn't a guitar. And don't know if you noticed, but Jane's Addiction Had a Dad was sampled on this song right before the guitar solo. Yep. I heard the first time I heard this album, and they did the little right from the beginning of Had a Dad. And I was like, that's Jane's Addiction. They stole that. And, nobody was doing samples that were that blatant back in the day, unless it was rap, right? Certainly not in, the music I had heard on the radio. So this was like, oh my God, Jane's Addiction. And of course, Trent and Perry, close friends, Lollapalooza tour, lots of time playing together. So it makes sense that he sampled them.
I have to listen to that now. I have to go back and check that.
Oh yeah, totally. If I was twice the man I could be, I'd still be half of what you need. How beautiful is that? Oh
So
my
good.
God. So good. Yeah, I feel like this is one of the happier songs on the album, and it was a good way to end. But if you haven't heard any of the remixes, there's 1,000 remixes of this song out there.
Yeah, I wish they had finished cooking. The only time, put it back in the oven for a half an hour and made it the last song on the album and gone out with a punch. But to each their own. Dylan, final song on the album. Did it work for you?
Yeah, so like the only thing I wrote down about this song is if I was twice the man I could be, I'd still be half of what you need, because it's such a fucking slam. It's so good. You say that to somebody and it's a slap in the face.
Yeah.
And
everyone has that feeling though of not being good enough for someone, right?
Yeah. So. And of course, like Dave said, talking about cutting the ring finger off, like it making the equivalent of, getting married. Are you cutting off a finger? Like, there's some themes
does that
in
mean
here.
You'll never get married, right?
Or does it mean you'll never get married? Like, like, or is it he wants to marry somebody and she's so against it? It's like, am I asking you to cut off your finger? I'm just asking you to wear a ring. Like, so like there's a lot of themes in here. I like it, and I like the end with that kind of messed up guitar falling apart at the end, because it's the end of the entire album. It's this whole work of art that starts at the beginning and ends at the end, and it goes all the way through. So like he's leaving you with that, just this falling apart. And you always have to say, like, is he saying I'm falling apart? I don't know, but I liked it.
And one more thing I wanted to add. So like I said, there's a lot of hidden lyrics throughout this, and I didn't reveal any of the other songs' hidden lyrics, but I'm going to read the one from this song. And you can tell me if this doesn't absolutely cement that all these songs were about a specific person. I'm so tired I can't get to sleep, and the squeaking of the bed is right in time with the song that's repeating in my head. I just want you to know, when I do it, I only think of you. That's hidden in the song.
That's great. That's great. It's very specific.
Yeah,
yep, it sure is.
That's talking to somebody.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Dave, it's so weird. Now that we've broken this down, so we're done. We've broken the album down. I think that we definitely gave you your money's worth on fucking Pretty Hate Machine. You now are an aficionado of the fucking subject of this album. But Dave, this one, in retrospect, this kind of reminds me of Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell. Am I right?
How so?
It's like,
that's such a random reference.
Because it feels like the rambling thoughts of a man talking about this dark relationship. And it's just kind of like, and how some of these songs don't feel like songs, but they feel like clips to a movie. And the whole thing kind of just spins this whole tale that, that concludes in this crescendo. I don't know. It just, for some reason, it popped into my head. I'm like, man, this is like a strange version of Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Only when he explained it in heavy detail.
Okay. Yeah, it's been so long. I've taken 2 edibles now during the 2 hours we've been talking about this, and suddenly this became Bat Out of Hell. Okay, so there you go. Let's finish this thing up. So we're gonna do some favorite songs. For me, my favorite song on the album has to be Head Like a Hole. I mean, come on, it's the best song on the album. Song I would cut would be Ring Finger. It just didn't need to be there. Dave.
Favorite track, Head Like a Hole. It's probably the most accessible song here. I would cut The Only Time. I don't like it as much as the others.
Okay. Lisa.
Favorite song obviously is Terrible Lie, although Something I Can Never Have is a close second. I don't think any song should be cut from this album because I think it's musically perfect, but if you're going to force me to choose one, I'm going to say take That's What I Get and put it on a soundtrack somewhere.
Okay, I'm good with that. Dylan.
Very close to what Lisa said. My favorite is Something I Can Never Have. Hurt me again, Trent. It's okay. Let's do it. And I would take away That's What I Get.
Okay. So we can't remove anybody from the band because then it's not 9 Inch Nails. But what I would do, and I've already alluded, I would remove 50% of the patch.
There's no illusion here. You've been talking it up.
Eluded. I would remove 50% of the patches and I would replace them with Dave Navarro, Chad Smith, and Flea to bring and I would also bring in a good producer like Desmond Child to arrange the songs, and this album would resonate 100% with me personally. But for what it is, it's perfect. I don't think you would change a thing about this. Dave.
Well, since Trent was the only one in the band, I guess we're replacing him. So I'm going to just replace him with the original, one of Trent's idols, Gary Newman.
Nice.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
What about if we replace him with Johnny Cash?
Sure.
Hey.
Okay. So give me that whole album. Lisa, who are you replacing Trent Reznor with?
So I'm not replacing him. You know, that there was an addition to the band in 2016 when Atticus Ross was finally, made a member of the band, even though he had been with them for a billion years. So instead of replacing Trent, I'm going to add a different member, and I'm going to add Ben Christo, the guitarist from, he tours with Sisters of Mercy, he plays in Ghost, he works with like Manic Street Preachers and KMFDM and Rob Zombie and all of them. So a real guitarist plus Trent. And
Awesome.
that makes them like a techno synth duo, which is what's common nowadays in this genre.
I like that. I like that a lot. Like Flock of Seagulls. No. Okay.
Can we put Lemmy on bass?
Dude, anywhere, anytime. Thank you. Lemmy's God. Lynn, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't replace anybody. It's I don't know his backing band well enough to know who's in and who's out, and you can't replace Trent because nobody's writing those lyrics but him.
No.
So I'm gonna plead the fifth on this one.
Fair enough. All right, let's do some final thoughts. We'll score it, and we'll be that. I think I appreciate this album as much as I can for what it is. For all its musical limitations, it has a very, very cool vibe to it. And it even has a big three. It has a big 3 hits, which I was surprised. It's one of the OGs of goth. So for me, this album is pushing 75.9 watts, even though there is no tube amp in sight. Dave.
Well, I don't hate this. I understand what's happening with the music. I really like the thought and creativity put into the synth and sample parts. I was just never that kid who was into real emotional, kind of rip out your guts kind of music. Maybe, I somehow missed the bus of the target demographic of kids that really connected with this. I don't know. It's fine. I'd be more likely to put it on as background music rather than driving down the highway, punching the air like I would be playing some Van Halen. This started a huge career for Trent, obviously. Tons of people love this and really get something out of it. So I see the value in that. I'm going to give it a 73.7.
Dave, I think you just told the people that you had a nice childhood. That's what that means. It means you're fairly well adjusted and you had a good childhood. You're not suffering from limerence and codependency.
I had
Yeah,
a
meanwhile-
soft upbringing.
Meanwhile, Lisa's next to him, rocking back and forth.
I am too.
Yep.
Oh no.
I'm a rocker. I'm
Help me.
rocking as well. Okay, Dave, one more time the score was?
73.7.
Dave, me and you have been on the same page a lot lately.
Yeah.
Delyn, I'm sorry, Lisa. Give it the 100. Go ahead.
So, I mean, obviously, I love this album. This is, really, really huge for me that you guys are willing to listen to something within my wheelhouse, my genre, when it's definitely not something you guys would normally listen to, I would think. I love that. Yeah, I love that maybe other people will start listening if they haven't, if this, their normal style is glam or traditional
Classic
70s rock.
Yeah, check it out.
Check this out. It's one of the best examples of kind of a crossover industrial album that will make you a fan. Big place in my heart. I'm not giving it a perfect 100. I'm giving it a 99.
Nice.
And
Okay.
I'll tell you why. And I took 1 point off because some of the remixes are even better than the album versions on the song. So that's the 1 point off, is maybe there could have been a replacement version on one of these songs that would have been even better.
Let's say the point was for the row your boat line or whatever it was. Rain, go away.
Rain, go away.
And because Trent hasn't returned the emails.
Okay, Delyn, give us the final score on this.
All right. So I am going higher than you and Dave, but not quite as high as Lisa. I love this album. It's a part of my childhood. It's, like that weird little liminal space in between being a teenager and an adult, and it kind of forced me to grow up musically a little bit, because I was Guns N' Roses, Poison, LA Guns, like that was all I liked. That was it. And then somebody gave it to me and said, I think you're going to like this. It's weird and it's different, and I think you're going to like it. And I loved it.
And not just somebody, Phil Lewis from LA Guns.
Well, Phil Lewis turned me on to Sisters of Mercy.
Oh, Sisters of Mercy. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, he turned me on to Sisters of Mercy. But then, so of course, I was already kind of treading into those waters. And this is like, 89, 90. So I was already treading into those waters. And I think I had gotten into Sisters of Mercy and Susie and the Banshees. And he was like, you're going to like this because you like those things. So I'm going to give it an 89.9. So not quite. Yeah, I couldn't quite go into the 90s, but I'm still a little bit higher.
Okay. Can we calculate those scores and tell us where it lands on the Violent Vinyl chart?
Sure. So Pretty Hate Machine, Nine Inch Nails' debut studio album on the Violent Vinyl album chart, gets a score of 84.63, putting it at number 2, below Faster Pussycat's self-titled album and above Vain No Respect.
Hey, that's right where it belongs. And I'll tell you what, I would take some synth bass on that fucking Vain album, okay? Any bass would improve that album.
Any bass at all.
Okay, awesome. Great discussion, guys. Killer show as always, man. We need to get this show in front of more people that can quit my day job. I truly believe that. I truly believe that this show could fucking pay the bills.
Oh, here's a story for you. So my sister's in journalism university. She's going to Keene University for journalism. And when I was discussing the classes that she had this year and she was telling me what they were, she said, oh, one of my classes got canceled. It was in podcasting.
Oh, shit.
And I said, there's a university class in podcasting. And I was like, either we need to take it or you guys need to teach the class. I'm not really sure which. But maybe we would learn how to make some money from the podcast if we did that.
This podcast is more than good enough for us all to be making money. We should be making money with this. Okay. Dave, if I am not mistaken, you have got the next pick. Please tell us what we and the listeners will be listening to for the next 2 weeks.
Very well. We're going to go back into the 80s hair metal glam rock, where the comfortable warm waters were where we are comfortable. And we're going to go with Whitesnake's 1987 album.
1987?
The good one with all the hits.
I'm excited.
Away from the
here I go again.
And towards Tawny Katane flipping on a Jaguar, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Arsenio Hall appearances when Whitesnake ruled the world. Yeah, interesting albums, Dave. So this one's going to be the one with Adrian Vandenberg and Vivian Campbell, but they don't actually play on the big hit, right?
They don't play on the album at all.
Okay.
The guitar player is John Sykes.
Yeah, who played on the earlier albums?
Some other guys. There was Bernie Marsden and then another guy. Way back, we did Saints and Sinners by Whitesnake.
Yes,
and that was some guys from the 70s.
Okay, well, we'll
figure it all out.
Yeah, there's a little teaser for you guys. There's going to be a lot to talk about. I'm excited about this one. We did T2. Terminator 2 on Hey Did You Ever See That Movie? Our sister podcast this week with Pat, the podcaster with a fully packed bong, and his bong was full and he was high. He had some very good insights on T2. And we will be back next week where we're going to start our Halloween run. No, we'll kind of. We're going
to do Trick or Treat.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing Trick or Treat, not the cool one. Nope, not the cool one with Sammy Kerr. We did that one. Yeah, we did that one about a year ago. We were doing Trick or Treat, the anthology horror comedy movie with Tony, the podcaster with a degree in terror. So there you go. Dave, Lisa, Delynn, thank you for joining me tonight. Everybody brought their A game like always. It was a great discussion. Until next time, take those albums out of the sleeve and let the music breathe. See you next time.